The transfer market plays a crucial role in football, facilitating players' movement between clubs. It's a dynamic and complex system that involves negotiations, financial transactions, and contractual agreements. Transfers impact the fortunes of individual players and clubs and shape the sport's competitive landscape. But how does the whole process work? Let's find out. Understanding transfer. A transfer in football refers to the business transaction that occurs when a player moves from one club to another. When a player is under contract, the acquiring club is typically required to pay compensation, known as a transfer fee, to secure the player's services. The transfer fee considers various factors such as the player's perceived quality, current contract length, commercial value, and potential worth. The transfer market serves as the platform where football players are made available for transfer to other clubs. It encompasses a list of available players and the financial transactions that take place as clubs compete to buy and sell these players. The transfer window, which usually occurs between seasons and during a short period in midwinter, allows clubs to make necessary transfers to replace injured players or strengthen their squads for upcoming competitions. In a transfer, the player's registration details are transferred, and the buying club compensates the selling club for losing the player's services through a transfer fee. Compensation can sometimes involve additional players or performance-based add-ons, negotiated between the clubs. So, how does this transfer happen, and what are the factors involved? How the transfer market works. A transfer in football is a complex process that involves multiple parties and negotiations. When a club expresses interest in signing a player, a representative from that club typically initiates an official inquiry with the player's current club, which holds their contractual rights. If the player's club is open to selling, the possibility of joining the new club is presented to the player. In consultation with their agent and advisors, the player considers this opportunity. Subsequently, the purchasing club enters into negotiations with the player they intend to acquire, aiming to reach an agreement on a new contract. This process involves addressing various aspects, including salary, bonuses, contract length, and other relevant terms. But before negotiations can begin, the interested club must seek permission from the player's current club to enter into discussions. This permission is usually granted in the form of an official approach. Once permission is granted, negotiations between the buying and selling clubs begin. These negotiations involve discussions on various aspects, such as the transfer fee, payment structure, additional clauses, and other terms and conditions. The club's representatives, including sporting directors, agents, and lawyers, play a crucial role in these negotiations. One of the key aspects of the transfer is determining the transfer fee. The buying and selling clubs negotiate the amount to be paid for the player's services. The transfer fee takes into account several factors, including the player's market value, contract length, performance, age, potential, and the financial capabilities of the buying club. While the clubs negotiate the transfer fee, the player's representatives, usually their agents, engage in discussions with the player or their agents to agree on personal terms. Personal terms include the player's salary, contract duration, bonuses, image rights, and other individual terms specific to the player. Before the transfer can be finalized, the player normally undergoes a medical examination conducted by the buying club's medical staff. This examination assesses the player's physical condition, fitness, and potential risks of injuries. The results of the medical examination can impact the finalization of the transfer. If a player doesn't pass the medical examination, the transfer may not hold. However, this is rare, and most players pass the medical examination. Once the transfer fee and personal terms are agreed, and the player passes the medical examination, the final step involves signing the contract. The player signs a new contract with the buying club, binding them to the new team for a specific duration. The necessary paperwork is completed after the contract is signed, and the transfer fee is registered with the relevant football authorities. This registration process involves transferring the player's registration details from the selling club to the buying club. Once the transfer is officially registered, it can be announced through official statements, press releases, or media announcements. After the transfer is completed, the player joins their new club and begins integrating into the team. This involves meeting the coaching staff and teammates and adapting to the new club's environment, training methods, and tactics. The buying club may also organize an official unveiling event to present the player to the fans and media. While this is how most transfers happen, it's not the only way a player can be transferred. There are other scenarios like the player falling out with the club or handing in a transfer request. A transfer process is an official demand from a player expressing a desire to move to a new club. This could be due to various reasons such as seeking a new challenge, higher wages, better opportunities, or changing personal circumstances. Players can also refuse to leave the club they have a contract with and run down their contract with the club without signing a new contract. At the expiration of their contract, the player is then free to go to whatever club is interested in them for free. This is called a free transfer or a Bosman transfer. Bosman Transfer. A free transfer in football occurs when a player moves from one club to another without a transfer fee. This typically happens when a player's contract with their current club expires. When there are 6 months remaining on a player's contract, they're allowed to negotiate with other clubs without their old club receiving a transfer fee. The concept of free transfers became widely known as the Bosman ruling, after the landmark 1995 ruling by the European Court of Justice, involving Jean-Marc Bosman. Bosman, who was playing for RFC de Liga then, wanted to move to Dunkerque, a French team. However, Ligue demanded a £500,000 compensation fee, which Dunkerque refused to pay. Bosman found himself in a difficult situation, unable to play for either club and facing a significant wage reduction. He decided to take the case to court, and the European Court of Justice ruled in his favour. The court's ruling stated that players should be allowed to move freely once their contract expires. This landmark ruling significantly impacted how transfers are handled at the end of a player's contract. Following the Bosman ruling, players started taking advantage of the new freedom by refusing to sign contract extensions with their clubs if they believed better opportunities awaited them elsewhere. Since the buying club does not have to pay a transfer fee, players can negotiate higher wages or signing on bonuses with their new club. The Bosman ruling allowed players more freedom in choosing their next destination and created a shift in the power dynamic between players and clubs. Free transfers became common, enabling players to have more control over their careers and negotiate better financial terms with their new clubs. Once a player decides to run down their contract, a player's agent goes to work, negotiating with interested clubs. Player agent. A football agent plays a crucial role in representing the interests of professional players, particularly in contract negotiations. Acting as a legal representative, the agent's primary responsibility is to secure favorable deals and terms for their clients. Contract negotiations are a complex process involving various legal and financial aspects. A skilled agent possesses extensive knowledge of football regulations, contract laws, and market trends. They leverage this expertise to advocate for their client and ensure they receive the best possible contractual terms, including salary, bonuses, and other benefits. Negotiating with clubs can be challenging, as agents strive to achieve the optimal outcome for their clients. They may engage in extensive discussions, leverage market demand, and explore potential offers from different clubs to drive up the value of the player's contract. Agents charge fees in exchange for their services, typically calculated as a percentage of their clients' earnings. This fee structure incentivizes agents to secure higher-paying contracts for their players as it directly affects their earnings. Agents may also negotiate for bonuses or commissions related to player transfers, further incentivizing them to facilitate lucrative moves for their clients. Some agents have gained significant recognition and influence within the football industry. Mino Raiola and Jorge Mendes are prominent examples of so-called super agents, who have built extensive networks and represent high-profile players. Their reputation and track record in negotiating successful deals have earned them considerable respect and influence within the player representation circle. Transfers are one of the major ways clubs bring talented players to their teams. If you loved this, click on the card on the screen for even more interesting football content.